Well, I think we're going to get started tonight. It's 5:30, and I know you've got plenty of things to do, and welcome to a nice, bright, crisp Minnesota evening. This is the public informational meeting for the Saratoga Street Reconstruction Project, intended to be under construction for this summer. And what we want to do is bring the information to you of what we have so far. We're probably 90 to 95% done with the design plans, but they aren't complete yet. And this is the meeting that we inform all of you what we intend to do, and we're looking for your input for if there's something that we missed, or there's something special about your property, or there's a schedule issue that we might have. So that's what this meeting is really about. I hope you've all signed in and picked up one of these sheets of paper. There's only a couple things on here, but they're very important. The front of the sheet has got the information of the project limits. So we'll be doing some construction on all of the crosshatched area, as well as the back, which is the information for special assessments. And I know it's fairly long and detailed, but it's important that each of you know the process that we use for the special assessment portion of the project. And I'll get into that as we go through the project. So with that being said, we're going to just start out with the project itself. This is the sheet of paper that you've got that shows the project limits. It goes from just on the east side of the Saratoga Street Bridge, west, bear with me on directions here, because when everything is on askew, this is the way I call it. So it's just east of the bridge. The bridge is located just west of College Drive and goes southeasterly all the way to Southview Drive, with a variety of things taking place going on adjacent streets as well. We have our design staff here today, our construction staff, as well as Bob Van Moore is also here, and special welcome to Sharon Hansen, our new administrator. If you haven't met her, she's there. So if you have a chance to get to talk to her about this or other things, she's here. What we're going to do is kind of go through a set of slides that indicates the types of construction that we're going to be having on the project. And the project essentially starts at the bridge. I'll probably come up here. The bridge by MMU, and this section goes down to A Street. This is the YMCA, and this is Schwann's at the corner. These are the parking lots. So we have plans of sections of each section of the roadway. Now, is there anyone here from Schwann's? Okay. Anyone here from YMCA? Okay. And Bruce, you're here for the middle school, and we have the library here, and the rest are residences and different businesses located along the area. But I will tell you, this is a general informational meeting. We intend to meet with each one of the interested parties, or anyone else that wants to talk to us about the project later on, because there are significant and different impacts of the project to everybody along the street. So for instance, if you look at Schwann's area here and vacated South First Street, the intent is to replace the utilities all along vacated South First Street. That's a very significant item, being we're going right through this parking lot and all the green space here, knowing full well that there are private installations there, sprinkler systems, power, water, those kinds of things. Our sanitary sewer main runs through there, and that needs to be replaced in its entirety. So that's kind of a significant impact there, but we'll be discussing that individually with them as well. As we come along here, there's going to be impacts to farmers market. The project is expected to start on or about school getting out, which is, I assume, Bruce, about the middle of May?
End of May.
About the end of May?
Yes.
We certainly may get started before that, but, and we'll talk about scheduling as we go. Might as well touch base on that right now. It is one large project, but we do believe it would be better for us to schedule the project in 2 phases. One from C Street south, so from the library south, and one from C Street northwest. And we'd like to have the south part done before school starts in the fall. Okay, so we maybe will have some work going on that will disrupt schedules before school is out, because when we bid this project, we want to make the contractor able to work at this project for as many good construction days as possible, minimizing impact to the adjacent properties. That's a general statement. Whenever you're working in a street like Saratoga Street, we understand there will be significant issues with that. So when we're talking through the project, be kind of thinking about the schedule that you might use to accommodate the contractor's construction project as well. Because you can't get the whole thing done from the 1st of June to the middle of August. It just won't be possible. Essentially, all the utilities will be reconstructed. There are some sections that don't have to be reconstructed, but as far as the public is concerned, you might as well figure on all the utilities being reconstructed. So this is the first section that will certainly impact the driveways to the parking lots on both sides of the street. This parking lot will have alternate access, of course, from Greeley. And we are also reconstructing the utilities through this intersection. So for that period of time, when we have this intersection open, there would have to be detours or alternate accesses on College Drive. MnDOT has got scheduled a project for College Drive from Bruce Street all the way to 4th Street in 2015. Well, that's 2025, sorry. So that's going to be 7 years from now. So we've talked to them already about what we should be doing at this intersection. The signals are bad, the loops are bad, the ramps for the crosswalks are not accessible ramps. If we touch those, if we touch the curb and gutter along there, we have to replace all that. That's a federal requirement. So we aren't touching them, because they're going to rip them out again in 2025 anyway, or maybe sooner, because depending upon funding and their project scheduling and all of that. So we are going to be replacing water, sewer, storm sewer through that intersection and replacing it with asphalt pavement. And to do that, of course, we'll have to replace the conduits of the detectors, but it will be a fairly minimal major reconstruction at that intersection, because we're not going behind the curves on this project.
School's out May 31st.
School's out May 31st. So most likely the contractor will be starting prior to that But this is what we're thinking. We're thinking of having our contractor start from C Street South first. Now, I know that's in front of the school.
That's also the loading zone at the school.
It's also a loading zone at the school. So we will have to work out alternate access if in fact the contractor starts before May 31st, or 30th, which most likely they will. Now, maybe we can talk to them about not closing all the accesses. Maybe we take out the paving, but we have gravel for access. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. We'll have to work with the school to put together a construction plan that doesn't significantly harm the contractor's prices and operation as well. Just think about that as we go.
Did you say that did you have a start date?
We do not have a start date yet, but we would expect that once we bid the project, the contractor, depending upon his schedule, will want to start as early in the season as weather conditions and soil conditions allow. And generally, we're thinking May 1st. It could be before that, but generally, we're thinking May 1st. And we're thinking about having them start on the south end first. Nothing's going to be easy one way or the other, but this section entails 100% replacement of the utilities. So you know how that goes. First you put in the sanitary sewer, and you backfill it. And then you come in with the water main, and then you backfill it. And then you come in for the storm sewer, and then you backfill it. So it's not like they dig up the street once, put in all the utilities and backfill. It's probably for this section, probably a month of work. Okay, for doing that type of work.
But I guess my question on that, and
Yep.
maybe you can clear this up, is if you're looking at a month of work, would it not make sense to wait till school is out to do that instead of
That's-
starting there?
And that's what we would be suggesting, that we start at C Street and go south.
But that impacts the school the most.
It does. This would
Why would I
impact.
go on what you're showing here right now?
Uh-huh.
Start there first rather than by the school.
And then we would take out all of that section for at least 3 months. Okay, because this section is going to take the most time from here to C Street, because we go up vacated First Street and we go up A Street all the way to, it's not the college.
Yeah, one thing that you may have been
To
missing
Marvin
is
Schwann?
the bulk of the utility work is occurring up by College Drive, not back by the school. I don't know, maybe you missed that.
I understand
Okay.
that, but the 3 vacant months really don't have an impact on traffic in the area with the school being basically not open in the 3 months.
Mhm.
Where, if you're up working up by Schwann's and then vacated green space, who cares? I mean, it really isn't impacting, other than the people dealing with that, it doesn't impact anybody. Their traffic counts or their traffic doesn't change in that area.
So we're flexible in starting one side or the other, whatever works out best for you. And you meaning all of you,
Right.
right? So we're flexible on starting with this section first or the south section first. This is the area extended from where we just talked about. This is the library and fire hall, and this is the curve. And this curve has always been a little bit of a problem for us. It's sharp, it's not good visibility there. The fire department has a real significant issue with the grade of the street in relationship to their driveway. Their big trucks drag when they come out of their driveway onto the street. So we're working with them to identify their longest truck and the one with the furthest that sticks out the back end past the dual, and trying to help alleviate that problem. of coming out of their driveway onto the street. You also know, okay, this is just, you can see this little piece, we're actually moving the street in just a little bit and making that radius a smoother, greater radius. Okay? It's all within the right-of-way still, but I was kind of looking for Steve Otto if he was here, but we'll be meeting with Steve individually too, because this is his place, and I think there's James Carr's apartments next to it. But there'll be some changes to that area because of the trying to make this curve a safer curve. We also are proposing, in accordance with our city policy, we're also proposing connecting the sidewalk on the south side of this street from, this is the church? Down here. From here, all the way up to here. The sidewalk ends, I think, at Greeley, and there's a crosswalk for the YMCA, but we're going to propose the sidewalk along this side, and on the north side and the east side will be widened into a bike path. All the way from College Drive to the school. Okay? We'll be working with the school on their master plan, but down in the school zone area, this area, we'd like to move the sidewalk out a little bit. I think the fence line itself is on right-of-way, and I don't know if you want to keep the fence or not keep the fence or whatever for future, but we'll work with the middle school on the developments that we have planned along here. But the plan is to have a bike path all along the easterly and northerly side where current sidewalk exists. You can see this side is residential. This side is the middle school side. We'll address, let's see, I don't know if I can see it on any of these. The crosswalk at James, this crosswalk, we want to work with the school on, in our long-term plan, on our safe routes to school plan, we've relocated this crosswalk to just south of the entrance to this.
Go to the next slide.
Okay, that'll be easy.
There you go, it's at the slide.
Right here. Right now, the kids cross here, and then they cross another street. So we're thinking about, should we bring that down to here and have them cross, so you have one less crossing to make? And in our long-range plan of our activated crosswalks, that's, I think, where it's located, right?
And we've been in contact with the middle school about that already.
So we may do that under this project is relocated, but we won't be putting in those push button actuated signals until we get the grant, if we do. Any other accesses, I'll start with personal issues. Any other accesses that you would like changed, we'd like to know that. So if you want to add another driveway, widen your private driveway, eliminate a pedestrian walk up to your own house that you would be paying for. If you want to make any changes within the right-of-way, within the boulevard area to the street, we'd like to know that. So if you want to jot down a little note or something like that to meet with us or to give us that information, we'd like to know that. We'd also like to talk to you a little bit about sprinklers. Anyone that's got a sprinkler system on their property within the right-of-way, we need to have that identified. So if you have that, make sure you get ahold of Kim or Jason to discuss your individual installations, because when we do a one call for all utilities in the right-of-way, you of course don't get a notice for that. But when the contractor comes and the utility is not shown on his plans, there's no way he doesn't dig it up. And according to our policy, if we dig it up, it's up to you to replace it. Now, I know in the past that sometimes the contractor has fixed damages to sprinkler systems. But that's what, I'm just telling you what the policy is, and we'd like to know if you've got one there. Especially, I'll say, where we're relocating the curb. And that's by Mr. Otto's in front of that area. For instance, if they would have a sprinkler system, it would definitely have to be relocated because the curb is being relocated. So we'll take a look at things like that. So anyone that's got any private installation in the right-of-way, you really do have to let us know. Yes?
Okay, so my mom's house, I'm here for my mom, is the second one in, like right at the top where you're talking about relocating.
Okay.
What, I know she's gonna ask me,
You wanna
what
go
is
back
the
to that?
right of way? Like,
Okay.
what part is that on there?
Okay, that's a section that does not have a sidewalk, and the right-of-way is,
She's in your south of James.
It's like the second house.
Yeah.
in.
okay.
That has a
You want
sidewalk.
me to-
Right,
Okay.
there is a sidewalk there, so
Okay.
is it like in front of the
That's what-
sidewalk you're talking about?
Right,
Okay,
in the boulevard, we call it.
okay, so if there's a
Yeah,
sprinkler in there.
if you've got that.
Okay.
Actually, that block is,
Yeah.
other than the street, nothing is being done. None of the sidewalk comes out,
Okay.
none of the curb.
None of the curb.
Okay,
Only thing would be is if they do that crosswalk thing.
right, okay,
So if there's a sprinkler system in there,
okay,
we won't be bothering that block
okay,
on that side.
good to know, okay.
Okay. Other things that are normally private, public things are, how about our garbage service? Typically, we set up a system with the contractor that you deliver your garbage cans to where you normally do, and then they put them where they need to be during construction for the garbage trucks to pick up, and then they deliver them back to your site. So that's garbage service. Mail service, you have rural mail there? You have a mailbox? Kim?
We have a series of banks
Yeah.
and mailboxes that we set at a street that's not being disturbed. And the contractor picks them up, sets the mailboxes, put houses numbers on them. And then the mailman, we usually talk to the post office, and they deliver there. And then you just gotta walk to wherever it's gonna be. And then the contractor, when it's all done, puts mailboxes back and, whatever.
In your case specifically, that shouldn't be touched. But you'll still have to have a separate mailbox location when the street is under construction. So they'll be set up for you, but in the north part of the area, if there's mailboxes anywhere along there, they will probably be taken out, laid down, and a new one put up in the bank somewhere else, and they typically then put them back up again, if we take them out.
Yep, we'll put everything back up with the stuff that's there. I mean, with the same post, everything.
Okay, so we talked about timing a little bit. It will depend really upon the contractor's operation and the idea of splitting the construction on C Street one way or the other, and we're flexible on which one you'd like to do first and second. The other part typically at this meeting we discuss is how did the special assessment works on a project like this. And that's what the back of your handout is really for. We don't have a dollar amount for each person because we don't even have a final project, so we don't know what the final project cost is. But I can give you some generalities. Let's take this, this real heavy reconstruction area. This heavy reconstruction area involves multiple types of funding when we do a reconstruction of the street and utilities. Start with wastewater. If the wastewater main is being replaced, the wastewater fund pays for the 100% of all of the main items, like the main itself, manholes, the castings, all of those things, and all of the street above it. That means the base, the fabric, the gravel, the asphalt. So they pay for a 10-foot strip approximately of pavement if they're in the street. The same exact thing happens for the water department. If we replace the water main, they pay for 100% of the water main and the water service lines all the way up to and including the curb stop in connection to your existing line. If you want to go further than that, that would be at your expense. But the wastewater does not pay for your service or your Y coming from the main. So that's a private expense. So all the way from the T coming from the main to your service at the right-of-way is your project expense. Now, some of you may have very old systems that are either Orangeburg, which is paper type sanitary sewer service, or problems with your existing sanitary sewer service. And we're telling you that if we're replacing your service to behind the sidewalk, it's a good time for you to consider doing further. You certainly don't have to, and it can't be included in our special assessment project. But we're telling you, if we're going to replace your sanitary sewer service to behind the curb or behind the sidewalk, it's the best time for you to consider doing more. Now, whoever you want to have do that, let's say we have a contractor and you've worked with them before, you can make arrangements with our contractor to do your work. You just can't run it through us. If you don't care to have that contractor to do it, if you've got a good friend or a contractor that you've always used, you can hire anyone else that you want to. And then there's a coordination issue that's easily taken care of. We just have to coordinate continuing on to your house with our contractor. So just so you know, you can do it either way. You can work with our contractor to do that, or you can hire your own to do up to your house. The cost for the assessments of the project. This is real important, and it's explained on that sheet, and we're going to send this sheet out to every potential assessment entity on the job. The maximum public assessment to your property is $5,500. Not including the sanitary sewer service line or your driveway replacement or any changes to walk-ups or things like that that are only for your property. And the reason for that is because you might have a 12-foot wide single-car garage and your neighbor might have a 36-foot wide 3-car garage driveway. And so you don't pay the same amount because that's your private installation. But as far as all the rest goes, we take the total street replacement cost, we subtract off what wastewater contributed, we subtract off what MMU contributed, and we didn't talk about the storm sewer We do the storm sewer the same way. Any of the mains, inlets, anything associated with the storm sewer are transferred to the storm sewer fund as well. So those three major items are deducted from the street costs, and then the city and property owners split the remainder 50-50, with the maximum to residential properties of $5,500. So I know that's a lot to think about, but we will be having a whole separate set of meetings for costs and special assessments once we know the final project scope of work, and we have a contractor with a dollar amount so that we can give you that information. But we can tell you that the public portion of that maximum for residential is $5,500. Now, for commercial and industrial, we don't have any industrial on here, but for commercial, it's 100% of the local assessment. Now, sometimes that's been modified by the city council, depending upon the work that we do. In this case, it will be modified because it's also a municipal state aid street. A lot more people drive on this street than a normal residential neighborhood street. So because of that, we participate in the reconstruction costs with state aid money that comes from gas tax and those other types of taxes that are dedicated to street reconstruction in the state. So there will be a significant contribution from municipal state aid as well. Hopefully that will bring the assessment down to a reasonable rate that should not be any different in impact than if you live on a residential neighborhood on Ranch and Susie, we'll say. Okay? That's the idea. That you don't get a free street, but you should not pay for any more than it would be if you lived on any other residential street in town. So if you have questions on the assessments, I'm thinking, any general questions on assessments I can certainly take, but I certainly can't answer how much it'll cost. Like I said, the intent would be to start construction. This is a major job, fairly as early in the spring as the contractor and weather will allow, and hopefully be completed by the end of October. I'm going to stop there. That again is the limits of the project, where you can see there we're going down vacated South First Street up to Marvin Schwann Drive, and this is A Street. These are all the individual plan sheets that if you want to look at any individual spot, we've got the grades of the sanitary sewer and water locations and where every tree is along the boulevard and all the driveways, all the grades. Some of them change a little bit. If you have a problem with drainage in your driveway or any location that you've got questions about, come and see us, because sometimes we can do something about it. Sometimes it's so flat that it's very difficult to do, but we certainly don't want to make it worse. We want to make it as good as we can, because hopefully you won't see a project like this for the next 20 years. That's why we look at every one of the utilities whenever we're going to do some street work. It's really important for us not to have to dig it up next year or the year after. So that's what we try to do. Now there can be some issues with that, but The other thing I want to talk about is we've had difficulties in the past with landscaping. And any of you that have a nice or decent yard, that's the only thing you see other than the street when we're done. You don't see the sewer line, or the water main, or the storm sewer line, as long as when it rains, the water goes away. But when we're done, landscaping gets to be an issue, because we have a plan note that we've always had, that the contractor is responsible to salvage all the black dirt on the project that's there and replace it, and put it back on when he's done. Well, if you know how that works, there's always some grass chunks and there's sand from us hauling streets, and it's not the best material. And when we put it back down again, and even if we rake it and get it ready, it's not like it would be if you did it yourself. So we're taking a look at what do we do with that? Well, we have a couple of options. We can require the contractor to leave it 6 inches low and have a separate contractor come in with nice screen black dirt, fill it in and seed it with regular lawn grass. We don't require the contractor to maintain it. So once it's seeded, we want to make sure that you water it and get it going. And if you don't water it and get it going, it's not going to grow and it's going to look like heck. But that's up to you. So we're struggling with that method of construction. That's what you see when we're done. So we'd like to see black dirt there, especially if you've got sprinkler systems. I mean, now you've taken another step and you've made another improvement and you want to keep yours nice. But that's not generally a cost to the contractor or the city to put in your sprinkler systems or put them back or make your boulevard look nice. We do the best we can, but we'd like some input on what do you think we should do with landscaping. We'd like it to be nice when we're done, but it's expensive. And you pay 50/50 with us. And if you're paying 50/50 with us it's included in the street reconstruction cost, it's how much we should be doing. Any other general comments about the construction? I like your idea of, really everyone else. Oh, this was that corner again.
Yeah, go to
We'll even keep going a little further. This is that corner again, where the existing curb is out here, and this is moving in, and this is moving in, so this isn't quite so sharp. Now, you may be able to go around it a little faster, and the intent is not to have extra speed going through that corner, but it is for visibility and safety and slipperiness and all that sort of thing. But that's kind of the idea of moving that. This is just, okay.
16 years ago, you replaced the water line through that area, but I'm assuming now you've got to replace the sewer, which is underneath the water line. Is there any size changes to the water line?
Well, I'll tell you, we did replace the water line in this section here, past Schwann's. Okay? And you can see that there were some squares cut out. That was for each of the individual water service lines for the houses going south. That was after the main was replaced. We certainly don't have to replace that main. Okay? So anything that's plastic and relatively new, we aren't replacing. But there are several undersized pieces. Probably the ones coming from
The one behind Schwann's
south
Corporate.
side.
The one behind Schwann's Corporate is being replaced.
Yeah.
One in
Yeah.
front of the fire station and some of Saratoga from College to Greeley, or actually to the bridge. That's the only water main being redone.
Yes.
You intend to change the parking along the street in different areas, or is that going to stay pretty much
We
the same?
don't. We have that residential area that comes from the curve going south. We would intend to keep that.
Keep it the way
And
it is?
all the rest would probably be no parking, just like it is now. We intend to have a 3-lane section, a center left turn lane and 2 through lanes, kind of like we do in many of our fairly major routes. But no parking. We'll have a bike path along the north side, so that takes that out of the street as well. So we'll have 3 lanes of traffic, and then we'll have parking from the residential area south.
So 404 would be parking along there,
Yep, show me where 404 is, guys.
next to the church?
Other way, other way,
Too far.
one way back, yep, right there. At Station 29
Oh,
there, at the far
okay.
right side.
We would be leaving parking there.
All right.
If there's parking there now, we intended to leave it. Yes,
Okay, I have a list.
yeah,
So, go down the list. Okay, so I see here where it says the first payment's due, but she wants to know how you pay it. Like,
Okay.
is that to you?
okay,
City?
yes, it's,
Make a check payable too.
yeah.
We'll give you the
It's-
name back.
If you want to pay it all off, you have to pay it for that October deadline.
Mhm.
And of course, that's making sure that you've gotten notice for that sometime in August, early September. So you've got a window of opportunity to pay that. It is a deadline date in our system, but we allow full payment up to the time that we certify it to the county. And so we certify only the annual portion. So when it talks about certifying to the county, that means just the annual portion. And it's a very complicated method of interest and certification. So if you have a specific question about your assessment, come in and see the auditor department.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So yes, you can pay it off in full, or you can do it in annual payments, and you can pay 100% of it off at any time. Generally, the assessments will be for 8 years, at an interest equal to the last bond interest rate that the city gets plus 2%. So there's an example, I believe, in there that says this was our last bond interest rate and added 2, so your effective interest rate is this.
Okay.
Now, if you don't pay it by that certain date, interest is added on to it all the way up to December 31st of the following year. So take a look at that, but if you have any specific questions about your assessment when it comes out, come in and see us.
And then, so you're making the 3 lanes from Saratoga all the way. So when that's under
Correct.
construction, you're not gonna be able to drive to your house. So she wants to know where you're gonna be parking, and then also, like, if there's an emergency, how do they get to your house?
Okay, so you will not be able to get to your driveway when the contractor is working in front of your driveway.
Okay.
But generally, when the contractor is doing the utilities, as they go along, they backfill the pipe behind them, and they bring it back up. And in some cases, we've gravelled a route to your driveway.
Okay.
Okay? If you have an emergency, if you have to call the ambulance, we'll get you there.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get that emergency service to your door, or making sure they can get to your house somehow.
Okay.
We do that in a variety of ways, but we've had in some projects a lot of rainfall I don't know if any of you went up to the Ranch Susie area when we were doing that project, but I think we had 8 inches of rain at a time. And it was a real quagmire for a while. And we just had to work with it. It's just something that you certainly couldn't drive to your driveway. They had to park somewhere else. And where else would you park? Well, the next public street over. You might have to park on James or on DeShepper or somewhere else and actually walk from there.
Okay.
But if we have any handicapped or accessible needs people, we also provide access for that by either a wooden walkway, plywood walkway, or something like that to get them there.
Okay.
So if any of you have accessible needs for a project, we'd like to know that up front too. Yes?
Would it be just as easy to have the bike path along just opposite the sidewalk, have the sidewalk in front of the school? That's where you get more kids walking.
That's where we will have it. That would be the intent is
And the
that,
bike, and then the bike path on the opposite side where the houses are.
oh, we haven't
Would that
thought
make more
about it
sense?
that way before.
Would it make more sense?
Yeah,
So bike paths out there.
The
yeah.
bike path is already in line with that on the new street.
The overpass.
I
The
know, I
overpass,
know
that's
where
how
you
it's
mean.
lined up there.
I know where you
There's
mean.
more kids walking on the sidewalk by school than it would be on the opposite side of the street.
Our thought process is that the access from the YMCA to the library to the middle school would be on that side. I know you have to cross it from the residential neighborhoods, but that was the thought process. Kim?
The other thing is the west side of Saratoga, behind the curb has only got about 9 feet of right of way. If I put a 8-foot sidewalk in there, you have a 1-foot piece of grass between the curb and sidewalk, which turns out to be nothing but weeds. I mean, it can be done, but it's not going to be pretty. So.
Yeah, the bigger right-of-way is on the north side.
And it changes as it goes around the curve.
Yeah,
There it becomes 80 feet wide, whereas south of, from C Street south, it's 50 on the school side and 33 on the other side. It's different right-of-way widths. So there's more right-of-way on the school side. Hopefully. That's one of the main reasons. And it's still gonna be tight up past the Y and Schwann's. They're only gonna have about the same as what they got now, about 4 feet of grass between the curb and sidewalk, so.
yes.
In terms of emergencies, so one of our major emergency places, the fire department is where you said they'll be working for 3 months.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we're all safe. How do you anticipate to help them to be able to get out of emergencies?
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, I've talked to them a lot,
Good.
and they're actually gonna reverse their trucks and go up the north doors and
Okay.
come around and go A Street to however, and then we'll try and keep some way that they can get to where, jump over to Greeley, or I don't know, going south when they get there, but, I've talked to them quite a bit about it.
Okay.
And most of the time, it's gonna be when we're gonna repave their front apron all the way to the garage doors to get rid of that, problem where the trucks are hitting. And I've got it figured out, so we're gonna have about 3/4 of a foot of clearance.
Could you bring up the
It's a month. I think, for the curb.
aerial
For the
for
apron,
Schwann's
for the
and
side, then 7
Greeley?
after that.
Okay.
But they're gonna reverse the trucks.
So at least
Yeah,
a
I'd
month
like to
they'll have
see the farmer's market area.
Is that about where I'm at there?
And since some of this is utilities, do you anticipate there being
There.
a shut off of any of the utilities for more than, say, an hour at any given time?
Water would be the only thing, and for the library, no.
Okay.
School, no. Actually, everybody south of the fire station shouldn't affect them.
Jeff, any comments on that?
Usually on a construction project, 4 hours is as long as it is.
Okay.
And if it's any more than that, we run a temporary line to the structure.
Or if you anticipated, you would let us know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Another item we had was a discussion of what would we do with farmer's market during that time. And the access will be restricted from Saratoga Street, and we have not discussed it any more than that, other than recommending that this lot possibly be used for farmer's market. It's got access from Greeley, and it's the furthest away from Corp as well. So I don't know if they've had that discussion yet with Schwann's or not, but this would be the next best location, we think.
Say one could possibly move to where it used to be.
Yeah, the other place is right north of the chamber. I think they need, there's power there. So, but that's something, just so you're aware, we're working with them on that. We haven't forgotten about that. Any other questions or comments? And if you think of something that you didn't think of here tonight, give us a call anytime. You can talk to Jason or Kim or me, or stop up. We will be having, like I said, separate meetings with the school and the Y and the fire department and Schwann's.
When's that gonna happen, Glenn?
Do you guys want to discuss your preferences for scheduling? And I think next week would be great if you're around. We're far enough along where these are the questions that we have, and we'd like to get that input. Anything else? If you want to stop, take a cookie before you leave. I can't eat them all. So, I appreciate you all showing up tonight. Thank you very much.